You're now watching the Mike Missanelli podcast on the BetRivers Network.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Mike Missanelli podcast. Thursday, July 25th. A lot of stuff going on, only because in Philadelphia, the Eagles matter. And training camp has started for the Philadelphia Eagles. And, of course, the big theme of the opening of training camp is we were left with this. We were left to ponder this with the lonely days that led up to this. What is the relationship between the quarterback and the head coach? The last time we heard from Jalen was not exactly a sound endorsement for the head coach. So naturally, the reporters grab onto that. As soon as Hurts is at the podium, they ask him about that. Now, of course, the podcast is brought to you by BetRivers. We will also talk some big baseball issues today with Hall of Fame journalist Jayson. So stay tuned for that. That's coming up with the Phillies and what they're going through right now, and whether a particular stat with the Phillies is going to prevent them from actually getting to the World Series. We'll explain that in a second, but let's get back to the Eagles. Okay, Jalen Hurts. Listen, I look at it. I don't know what to think about it. I think he's a strange guy. I think he's a little bit of a weirdo. That doesn't mean he can't be your franchise quarterback and lead you to great heights and win a Super Bowl. All right, but he is a little strange, and I wish he was a little different for my own personal edification, because he's kind of a spaceman. All right, so he gets to the podium, and of course, the first question is this: Jalen, there's a report that came out that you and Nick's relationship, ... and Jalen shuts it right down. Boom. He burst in there and he says, let me say this first, in his typical man on the moon persona, where he starts talking about being hungry and the opportunity and the trust of Mr. Lurie and Howie, and then he gets to Sirianni. Let's just listen to Jalen Hurts' opening soliloquy here after shutting down the reporter's complete question.
Jalen, there was a report that came out that you're in Nick's relationship.
Let me say this first. You go through an off season. You put a lot of work in. I think all the things that we've been through last year, all the opportunity we had last year, I know everybody's hungry. There's a ton of opportunity in front of us this year. And I'm excited to be back. Excited to go through this journey and go through this season with everyone here. From everyone. And I truly trust Mr. Lurie. I trust Howie. I trust Coach Sirianni to lead us in that right direction. And I know there are different roles in place. Everybody has different responsibilities. There may be more demands from some than others, but I think to win championships, to be the team we want to be, everyone has to buy into that role, and everyone has to, really be fully committed to doing their part and helping the team. And so, I'm excited to go on that journey. I feel like for me as a player, as a leader, everything that we went through last year, I just feel like I'm equipped to handle whatever's to come. And so I'm excited to, forge whatever this year's supposed to be.
All right. So there you go. Make of that what you will. It's kind of a diversion, and I think he's trying to say that he and Sirianni are okay. I don't know what to make of this thing. I really don't. But then it was Sirianni's turn, because he comes to the podium with his right hand man. I don't understand why these guys have to do their pressers together. Like, it's always Howie and Nick. Howie doesn't trust Nick to be up there alone to get the questions. I don't understand it. But then Sirianni's obviously going to be asked about this Jalen thing. And here's what he says: the only thing you can judge relations on is your personal interactions with people, not any report that comes out. All right, sounds logical. Let's hear what else he had to say. Let's hear the full quote from Nick Sirianni.
Describe your relationship with Jalen as a work in progress. I'm curious, entering your fourth year, how is your relationship with Jalen, and maybe how did last year test it?
Only thing you can judge your relationships on is your personal interactions with people, not any report that comes out. And, Jalen and I's relationship is good. It's, again, you just can judge it based off of what your personal interactions are. And so when you hear a report like that, you don't put much stock into it because, quite frankly, not everybody sees that. So I'm so excited for him and I to get into our 4th year together. We've done some pretty special things, and I'm really excited for him. He's worked so hard at his game. I'm excited for him to be able to get back out here today and have a good practice today. And just looking forward to continuing to work with him and continue to build on the special things that we've done.
All right. So there you go. All right, let me bring producer Darren in here. Listen, this might be as simple as what these guys just said, and we read too much into it because we have these conspiracy theory minds, and we'd like to add stuff to the narrative. It seems to me that Jalen Hurts may want to have to trust his new offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, than he does the head coach, which would be okay. I mean, the head coach messed him up. I don't know. What are your thoughts about this whole little Sirianni-Jalen Hurts dynamic?
Well, I think we're definitely reading too much into it. There are plenty in history, plenty of successful coach and quarterbacks that didn't get along. Parcells rode Phil Simms like a redheaded sheep dog. But there's no way that everything is fine. First of all, when I heard Sirianni's response, it was so awkward. Like, it really was. Like, he gave me no confidence that he and Jalen are just, things are hunky-dory, all puppy dogs and ice cream. Jalen, I thought, was a little more direct. I think he was probably told to be that way because of the response, because all the stories we heard is that the executive offices were not happy about the way he answered that question a month ago. So I think he was probably told to get out there and just throw water on everything and disarm everyone. But, I mean, to me, the way Sirianni answered it, and I don't know if he was just trying to be too political, I had no confidence that things are just, copacetic. Uh-huh. Now, again, I do think we're just reading too much into it. I don't think it matters that much.
Okay. And it might not. I don't know if it's a good comparison because Parcells had a lot more clout than Nick Sirianni has in a situation like that. So whatever Parcells said went, and Sirianni is just not in especially now.
That's one of 100 examples.
The way the year ended last year, I mean, the belief in him might be down to the bare bones. All right, so let's look at some other stuff. The introduction of Eagles training camp. And little tidbits that go on, and we'll get reports on this every day. Not that they matter much. To me, you go through a preseason. The only thing that matters is how you look when the season starts. We'll get little clues on who the starters will be, who's playing well, who earned their spot, all that kind of thing. First day stuff, Cooperstown hamstring. So he's going to be shelved for a while, which is not good news for him because he has a chance to get really behind in the pecking order. The defensive back pairings right now, at least in day one, were Slay, Ringo, and Avonte Maddox. Now, again, it's a matter of time before Maddox breaks a toe in training camp, so he probably won't be in the mix at the slot. But interesting that Ringo, I think the Eagles want their number one draft pick, Quentin Mitchell, to earn the job. And I'm getting the impression that he's not ready yet, or I think that he would have been there on that depth chart. And then there's Isaiah Rodgers, who they like. I mean, I don't know who's going to end up at that other cornerback, but you got a bunch of guys like still in the mix, like Bradbury and Ricks and Job, Kai Gardner and Goodrich and McPherson and all those guys. So all that stuff will sort each other out. The defensive ends, big concern for me on defense on whether they're going to be able to get to the quarterback. The only thing we know right now is that a lot of them have long wingspans, right? Huff, Sweat, Nolan Smith, Jalix Hunt, they all have good wingspans. That doesn't mean a hill of beans to me unless you can actually get to the quarterback. So that's an area that I will look at closely during training camp. On offense, the slot receiver right now is Paris Campbell. And I think of Paris Campbell, I go, he's like Zacchaeus. Or who was the guy they had from the Colts a couple years ago that they threw in there?
Pascal something.
Pascal.
Yeah.
So like same type of guy. Paris Campbell's the same type of guy. But John Ross is in the picture, the speedster, and maybe he can give him a little something from that slot. The linebackers right now, it's Dean and Devin White. They'll start out right there. And then we'll see. Zach Blount is in there and the whole bit. So, again, a lot of things to look at as we look at training camp for the Philadelphia Eagles. But everybody's excited that training camp has started, which means the Eagles, for right now, take over the Phillies until we get to playoff time, until we get to September, late September. The focus will be on the Philadelphia Eagles. That's just the way this town is. So, Phillies, you got a little vacation coming to you. All right, let's talk about your fighting Phils. Two problems with the Phils right now, even though I don't believe they're catastrophic problems. The outfield OPS is terrible. They're 25th in the league in outfield OPS. And since the All-Star break, I'll give you their slash lines right now. Schwarber, 087, 185, 087. Turner, 240, 296, 480. Harper, 185, 185, 444. That's average, that's OPS, and that's on-base percentage is the middle number. Bohm, 318, 423, 409. Marsh, zeros across the board. Castellanos is coming alive, as Darren predicted. 391, 417, and 739 for Castellanos. Stott, 143, 143, 143, and Rojas, 222, 300, and 222. Again, no team with that kind of a low OPS has been able to win a pennant. We're about to hear from Jayson Stargell what he thinks about that. Maybe he doesn't think that's a big deal. I think that's certainly a big deal. Now,
Mike, you're a second baseman. Can I ask you this? Should we be genuinely worried about Bryson Stott right now?
No, I think he's a really good player, and
I do too.
I think he's I don't have any worries about Bryson Stott at all. Now they're going to have to, I don't know. I would let the kid survive. I really would, but they're afraid, so they're platoning him, and if they get away with it. They get away with it. But I'm not worried about him. I think he's a quality player, and he'll find it eventually. All right, so this is balanced by the concept that the Phillies are still pretty good, that no team is ever 100% complete. But their erratic late-inning bullpen right now, I think will straighten out. Soto is all over the place. I don't know. Sometimes he's just all over the place. So he's one guy I don't trust. I think Alvarado will come back. I think they're fine with Strom. Dominguez scares me a little bit. Kerkering scares me a little bit. I believe that Dave Dombrowski needs a right-handed bullpen guy who can pitch seventh inning. All right, ladies and gentlemen, today's special guest on the Mike Missanelli podcast. He's hard to get. And when we get him, it's like a bonus. He is the great Hall of Fame baseball journalist who I worked with many years at the Philadelphia Inquirer back in the day. He is busy every single day of the week with baseball and fascinating little tidbits on how the game is being played. Let's welcome in Hall of Famer Jayson Stark. Hello, Jayson. It's been a long time.
Mike, it's so good to see you, my friend. How are you?
Fantastic. All right, Jayson, let's get into I love talking to you at certain points of the year when Philly fans' angst are at a raised level. And so here we are now at a raised level. Now, they're not a raised level for me. I've seen this before. They're a good team. I think they're the best team in the National League. But there are little lulls that people panic because there's a perception out there that the team has to be perfect to actually win a World Series, and rarely is a team perfect. Where are the Phillies right now? And let's examine the flaws that you see.
All right, they're not playing well right now. That doesn't make them alone. I feel like, Mike, they're good enough to win the World Series, even if Dave Dombrowski does nothing between now and the deadline. And that's not going to happen. I want you to look around at the other good teams. The Orioles, the Yankees, the Guardians, the Braves. They're all playing terrible right now. All of them, okay? I mean, the Dodgers are dangerous, obviously, but they've got a lot of needs. They've got more needs than the Phillies. I don't think the Dodgers can make enough trades to fill all their needs. So, I would ask yourself this. Is there any doubt in your mind the Phillies are going to get a bid to this tournament. And is there any doubt in your mind they'll be a top seed in this tournament? I don't see why there'd be any doubts. And that's all that matters.
Yeah, listen, I see the same thing that you see. I don't get carried away with these little lulls during a baseball season. I've seen so many baseball seasons, but there are some legitimate things to look at right now. So I'll throw you this stat, which to me was flabbergasting. I didn't realize. I've realized that they haven't gotten great outfield offensive production. But what I didn't realize is that their outfield OPS stats are horrendous, and an OPS of an outfield that low has in fact never won a pennant. So talk to me about that. I mean, is that something we could just overlook?
No, I don't think you should overlook it. This was a Matt Gelb stat in The Athletic the other day.
Yes.
No team has ever played in the World Series with an outfield OPS this low. And hey, that should get your attention. But I don't think you should just think about the outfield as a whole and just think about the offense in that outfield, because teams like outfield offense, Mike, I don't know if you're aware of this, is at a historic low. Historic low. We're used to teams getting a big chunk of their offense from their outfielders. It's really not true anymore. So there's that. The other thing, why is that? I just did a big story about why offense is down, and here's a prevailing theory that we've paid very little attention to, and that is because we can now measure the impact of defense on winning. Teams are much more defense conscious when they put together their outfield. Why is Johan Rojas running around center field? Because we can measure the fact that he's an impact defender in center. And so teams are measuring all of that, not just offense the way they used to. Okay, so now looking at them offensively. Nick Castellanos has had a weird year. He's been better lately, so we'll see where that goes. Over in left field, like they don't want to play Kyle Schwarber there, right? So Brandon Marsh has been playing left. He hasn't really been the same since he came back off the injured list, but I think they're confident that he's made enough strides that he can hit right-handed pitching. So they're very interested in finding a partner with him, and to do what a lot of teams do now, look for platoon advantages every chance they can get them and find another right-handed hitting corner outfielder. They'll do that. In center field, when you play Rojas, you're prioritizing defense. Should you do that in the postseason? I mean, we saw last year, it's a problem if the rest of the lineup doesn't hit, but the rest of the lineup is built to hit. So it's really important that the infield, the catcher, the DH step it up. That's how I would look at the big picture there. Did I overdo that?
No, but what I get out of that is that they need a right-handed hitter who can play left field. So you can reach big for that, or you can reach smaller. They've reached small in the past and added a guy who's been able to help. What are you hearing on the type of player they might want to add there?
I mean, I know people around here are fantasizing about big names and have thrown around theoretically big names. Luis Robert Jr. isn't coming here. That's not going to happen. He's being priced like he's a superstar, and he's had one really good year. All the other years he's hurt or underperforms, and he hasn't really played well since he came off the injured list. He's way overpriced, so he is not coming here. I don't see Randy Arozarena coming here. I don't see Tommy Pham coming here. I think they're really in that market for guys who hit left-handed pitching specifically. Lane Thomas, Nationals. They've scouted him extensively. Mark Canha, with the Tigers now, but has bounced around with the Mets and Brewers last year. Definitely on their list. Taylor Ward from the Angels. He's a good fit. Dave will find somebody, I think, in that mold. Should they do better? I like your obvious answer. You'd like to say, yeah, I'd like to do a lot better than that. But here's the model, Mike, that I think Dave is looking at. 2018 Red Sox reached this point in the year. Very similar situation. Best team in the game, best record in the game, clear chance to win the World Series. What do? What did Dave trade for that year to help his lineup?
Steve Pearce.
A guy named Steve Pearce, right? Steve Pearce was not a star, but he hit left-handed pitching, and all that did was bring in the impending World Series MVP. And so Dave has a type. He's going to find a guy that fits that type.
Okay. Now, that type of guy obviously would not cost an Aiden Miller or a Justin Crawford or a Painter, right?
Yeah. And that's important to remember, because all the other names that people seem to be throwing out around here, dreaming on, not just in the outfield, but Garrett Crochet, Tarek Skubal. I mean, the impression I'm getting is all those teams are asking for Aiden Miller and Andrew Painter, like something like that. They're not doing that. They are not doing that, and they shouldn't do that. There's no need to do that. It's a brutal market. There's no sellers. Like, there's 6 sellers, so everybody knows the names. There's no secrets on any of these names, and the sellers' prices are so high that, in my podcast, Starkville, the other day, we had Thad Levine on from the Twins, and he said, like, we're tired of talking to those teams. We're actually talking a lot now to other contenders, and maybe we can trade from our strengths to get somebody from their strength. But I don't see the Phillies doing that. Makes no sense for them.
Yeah, you're right. And this is an unusual year, as so many people so many teams are involved in a wild card race that they're not going to be sellers.
Right.
All right. So the other obvious need, I believe, is a right-handed, late inning type of guy who would give you a little more security than what they're throwing out there now. Now the Kerkering is leaking a little bit. Dominguez has always been what he's been. So what would that cost you?
Yeah, I don't know that it has to be right-handed. I don't think Dave is prioritizing right or left right now. He just, again, Dave has a type. From 97 to 102. Dave is not interested in you. Okay, so I like Kerkering. I think he's just into an innings territory where he's never been. They just need to be careful with him. Hoffman and Strom have been basically great all year. Just need to watch their workloads. But, I mean, they're okay, I think, in terms of those 3 guys. They've got to figure out what Soto and Alvarado are. Those guys have basically reverted to the most worrisome version of themselves. The version where there's no command. They don't throw strikes. They don't know where it's going. We've seen Alvarado figure that out and lock back in. And I think it's important that they find a way to get him locked back in. I've never seen Soto do that for any length of time that would make you say, yeah, we can definitely trust that guy. So they've got openings. They could trade for 1. They could trade for 2. I think the question is, who do they trade for? Because I'll tell you this, from talking to other teams that have talked to Dave, he's only shopping for guys who can make an impact. He's not interested in just some random guy, some depth guy, just to say he made a deal. Tanner Scott from the Marlins is a huge arm. He'd be a rental. He wouldn't seem to be that expensive. Kyle Finnegan from the Nationals, scouted him extensively. Carlos Estevez from the Angels, they've definitely looked at him. And I know you've heard those names, but that's because those are the names. There's practically no sellers, so everybody knows who the names are. But Dave will unearth 1 or 2 of those guys because they're out there.
Jayson Stark, of course, from the Athletic, and also Starksville and 100 other things that he's still involved with here. Did you go to Cooperstown this year? Were you?
Absolutely.
You
Yeah, I
did?
love Cooperstown. As you know, one of the perks of being in the writers' wing is they invite me back every year, and when they invite me back, I say, "Yeah, I'll be there." it's it's a good time.
That's awesome. Now, do you sit with the media people, or you sit with the big stars that you're?
When I watch the ceremony,
Yeah.
okay, I'm in section 1. Section 1 is where the families sit, the ex-teammates sit, the former managers and GMs and special guests get to sit. So, I mean, like, I don't sit with Joe Mauer's family, if that's what you mean. But, I can wander around and talk to whoever I want before the ceremony, after the ceremony. It's cool. There's a lot of amazing people walking around that section where I'm in. It's like,
And it had to be hot again, right?
This was the nicest
Oh, really?
weather in Cooperstown history. I told him, hey, it was a really good idea to pay extra for the good weather package.
Yes. When Jayson Stark was inducted, it was like we were at the equator. Frankly.
Yeah, I know, right? I still got sunburned. It's the one place on earth I somehow find a way to get sunburned. You're out there for so many hours.
All right. So, Jayson, when we look at this whole thing, the one thing that I have a problem with, and I respect Rob Thompson. I really do. I think he does what's best for his team. The one thing that I look at is not trusting the left-handed hitters. Now, I know that's a catch-22 because you don't want to send guys out there that just aren't producing against left-handed pitchers. The other school of thought is you got to get them at bats so they do produce. And I don't know where the line is drawn, but it looks like Stott and Marsh, when they're told they can't hit lefties, actually believe that they can't hit lefties. Your feelings on that?
Okay, I think there are two different categories. Brandon Marsh, go back and look at his splits every year of his career. The last time he hit left-handed pitching was basically rookie ball, his first year of professional baseball. And as he's gone up level to level, especially in the big leagues, it's been the same story every year. That doesn't mean that for the rest of his career, he's never going to hit left-handers. But a lot of teams now, Mike, don't look at a position and think one guy has to play that position all the time. Like those days when Charlie Emanuel just wrote the same names in the lineup every game of the season. And very few teams are doing that. And so to find a platoon partner for Brandon Marsh makes total sense. Bryson Stott is a little different because he has hit left-handers in the past. He hit them last year, and he has really lost his way right now. So my sense of why he hasn't been playing lately against left-handers is they're trying to get him back to what he's been the previous 2 years. And matching him up against left-handers seems to be kind of fouling up the works. So they're trying to match him up against guys he's more likely to have success against, with a mind toward getting him back to being an everyday player. But he's just really overthinking it right now in a way that we hadn't seen in the past.
Jayson, obviously you pay attention to all the quirky stuff that happens in baseball. So give me your top quirky observations this year with Major League Baseball.
My top quirky observations in Major League Baseball. All right, by what category do we want to?
Your head. I just like sink into your head and something quirky will pop out about baseball that you write about every week.
Right. Well, here's a weird thing that happened. The A's came in here and they scored 18 runs in one game. And then yesterday, the Rockies scored 20 runs in one game. And there've only been 4 games all season where any team scored 18 runs or more. And all 4 of them were by the Rockies and A's, who are both brutal. They're both in last place. Like, tell me that baseball makes any sense, Mike.
No, you're right about that. I watched the A's come in here, and I said, what in the world? What is this team? All of a sudden, they're like an offensive juggernaut here.
A guy with 7 homers.
Yeah, and I have to laugh because the 2 coveted players that we saw, one's a DH who can never play outfield, and the other guy's 25 years old. It would cost you 4 top-notch prospects to get in here, but Philly fans clamored for them both.
Yeah, hey, look, I mean, if you didn't have Kyle Schwarber, a DH, Brent Recker's a perfect fit. Mason Miller is a great fit for anybody till he blows out. But, it sounds to me like when the Phillies called them, the A's asked for something like Aiden Miller, Andrew Painter, and Justin Crawford.
Yeah, all 3 of them. Yeah.
Why would you do that?
Yeah,
right?
No. All right, last thing. What are your thoughts on the dynamic between Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni?
Yeah. What a shocker that first day of training camp. Everything's great. We love each other. We're good. Don't ignore all that stuff that actually happened the last time you saw us playing, because we're good. I need to see it. Believe what your eyes tell you, Mike. Don't believe what anybody says on the first day of training camp. I'm not telling you anything you don't know.
Yeah, that was Nick's view on it. All right, so let me move over to the Paul George acquisition. Thumbs up or thumbs down for Jayson Stark?
I mean, he's not perfect, but what were the other options? Considering the options, if you're trying to win the NBA championship, he was the only way to go. I mean, I'm not I watch the Sixers every chance I get, and I would love to see them win. And are they even the favorite in the conference? I don't know that they are.
I think they're maybe the second favorite, but we know how that works when George only plays 40 games. So
that's the thing.
We'll have to see what's going on with that.
How many games is he going to play? How many games is Joel going to play? But in the perfect world where the stars line up, that's a team that can win. So, hey, go for it.
All right. USA Olympic team. Gold medal? Basketball?
Yeah. USA. I'm nervous. That's too much age in that team. Way too much. But I haven't seen the schedule, but I'm thinking there are ways to manage the age factor. And there are just so many winners on the roster. I'm saying, yeah. Well, where are you?
All right. Sounds good. And finally, Matvei Michkov is in town, Jayson.
I couldn't spell it. I don't know. I have nothing for you on that. You don't go there. You know I know nothing about that. You just love to go there, don't you?
Well, I know. He's now. Here's what's funny about Philadelphia sports. It's at a pretty high ebb. It's at a pretty high ebb, don't you think?
Yeah. We got 3 teams that definitely have a chance to have a parade. That hasn't happened much in our lifetimes or anybody's lifetime.
Jayson, always a pleasure. We haven't talked in a long while. I missed you. So thanks for coming on the show. We appreciate it. And maybe we check you out at World Series time. How's that?
Sure, let's do that. And great to talk to you too, Mike. I just want you to know that I've literally been turning down everyone this week, but I said yes to you because I miss you. Great to talk to you.
I'm going to have a drink right after this just to talk to you.
Yeah, I'll buy it. Yeah.
Thanks, buddy. Take care.
See you, Mike.